Welcome back to the I Thirst follow-up with Father Jacob Hsieh. On the 49th episode, we are talking about the 8th commandment. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And the order of the commandments, as we spoke about in the last episode, is really important because we see that lying usually is connected to the bearing of false witness. So here we really see that there is a connection between the sins, and that one sin really leads to another. And so lying and here bearing false witness, in this case where we're not telling the truth, here we see that bearing false witness is really tied to stealing and also other things, but here bearing false witness is usually going to be tied to pride and vanity, greed. This is the stealing aspect. But another reason why people lie, they bear false witness, is to either protect themselves. So there's this idea of pride there. And it's going to be usually connected to another sin. So when we lie, we always lie for a reason, right? Here, when we do violence to the truth, it's always going to be connected to something else. And so there are many people that suffer from habitual lying. They have gotten into such a habit that they can't even see that they lie anymore. And their conscience is not even affected by all these white lies that come out. And then finally, when they catch it themselves, they're just like, I can't stop doing this, right? It's a very interesting thing. Like when we are talking, for example, in a story, if we have a bad habit of over-embellishing stuff and trying to get people's attention, there's that element of pride there. And we start just like putting little, extra information in there that's not really true, but you're like, that's not the main point, but I'm just trying to emphasize the main point. You really see that the lying starts slowly in the area of gossip. You're like, she did this and she did that, and then suddenly, he did this and he did that, and you put like a little more, little droplets of, lies, I don't know what to call it, but little untruths in there, right? Just to make your point, he's really a bad person or she's a bad person. And suddenly all these things, the way that we tell stories, the lying has just crept in as a habit. And here we have to really be on the watch out that every single word that comes out of our mouth will be accounted for. We will have to account before the Supreme Judge, our Lord Jesus Christ. Our Lady will be there, and every word will be accounted for. Did we use those words for truth? Did we use them for the glory of God? So here is a very important question that needs to be addressed. Is all lying sin, right? Okay. Or are there some cases where we can lie? This is a very hard question. According to St. Thomas, just go straight to the master, right? All lying is unnatural and against nature because we are to provide the truth. We are beings of truth, right? When we do violence to the truth, right, this is already against nature. Right, we are violating our natural connection to the truth, right? We don't have a natural connection to falsity, right? We have a natural connection to the truth. Anytime we deny that, it's going to start messing us up a little bit, So these are maybe some difficult, you can say, topics or controversies. We'll start with the common one. First of all, when we lie in order to make a joke, or you can say joking that involves lying. Right. Now, here, this is called in St. Thomas, in the Summa, it's called jocose lying, right? And jocose lying, we think, okay, you can make fun of the person or lead the person on by actually telling an untruth and lead them on in such a way that, for example, I could just say, I'll just make up a situation. My sister's here, and then, I just said, your dog's dead, but the dog's actually alive. And I'm just trying to, make a story so that I could do something. And then in the end, she's like, oh, my dog's not dead, oh, that's so funny, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Okay. Here, some people say like, oh, you can lie because in this circumstance, right, your purpose is to, just get a joke out of it, and it was really funny in the end, or you could just lie about like, oh, I just lost my job, or you kind of lie in order to do that, birthday party, like, here you're just surprising the person, and then you just lie, and then suddenly you have this, oh, wonderful birthday party, everybody's happy, and then that's your jocose lie, right? St. Thomas is very clear that you're not supposed to even do this, okay? Because here it's very important that our relationship to the truth, right, we're willing to sacrifice truth just to get pleasure, right, in the joke. It's not the hierarchy of things, right? Truth is the highest thing. You can do a beautiful surprise birthday party, but do it in such a way that you don't lie. It's totally possible, right? And so here, it's really the order of the goods, right? Truth is supreme, not our pleasure, right? And so here, when we sacrifice the truth for this, fleeting happiness, right? What does that show? What does it mean? Like, okay, I can't trust this person now because they actually lied, and I don't know if they're joking anymore. You can just see it just spreads all this, junk, even after the jocose lies, right? So after somebody who's done so many jocose lies, oh, that boy's crying wolf, right? Basically, you can't trust the person after they do so many jocose lies, right? So you can see what happens in those cases, right? So this is usually an area where people do lie. These are, you can say, venial sins usually. They're going to be venial sins, small sins, but we should avoid even these, right? Our speech should always reflect the truth, right? Okay. Now we have the difficult situation of, for example, if you are trying to save the life of somebody and you are needing to lie in this circumstance. Okay. Now, here, the lying, for example, people use the classic case of the Nazis, right? So the Nazis are coming and you're hiding all these Jews in your house, and then the Nazis come and say, are you hiding Jews in your house, right? And then you say, just word for word, there are, no Jews in this house at all, and, why would I do that, and, you can look everywhere, and they're not here in the house in any single place, whatsoever, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, So, there they lied because they are hiding the Jews in the house. And the question is that a sin? Because they're lying in order to save the lives of these people, right? Now, in this case, it's very difficult because here, in itself, the lie will always be a sin. If they do lie in that way, it would just be a very small sin, right? It's not a mortal sin, obviously. It's going to be a small sin, right? Sometimes we just can't think fast enough, right? So that's why it's just a small sin, but it's still against nature, right? To break that relationship with the truth, right? So here, instead, what should be done is that we should get ready for these circumstances, in a certain way. And if that happens, we don't have to say everything, right? Sometimes in our human nature, we think we have to say everything in order to say the truth, or whatever it is, to fix the situation. But here, all that we have to say is, for example, are there any Jews in the house? You can what's called make a mental reservation, right? So here, the truth is not due to some people, right? But you should never tell them something false, right? So you can say, for example, no, right? There are no Jewish dogs in the house, right? And there's no Jewish dogs because you don't have Jewish dogs, right? But they interpret it as, the Jews, but you're actually, in your mind, meaning actual dogs that belong to Jews, right? And so here, right, you are ready to have this response, and that's not a lie. It's actually telling a truth that they interpret, right? Or you can even just say, no, there are no Jews in this house and then in your mind you say for you, right? Okay, so here this is another tactic, the mental reservation, right? So here the intention is not to lie, right? But here you're saying there are no Jews in this house. Right. Okay. For you, right? And there, the intention is just to say, that, but your intention is not to lie. And so here, in that case, you can make a mental reservation and not reveal the whole truth, but at the same time, here you're not intending to lie. This is a difficult circumstance, to interpret. But the thing is, we still can do these. Be in these difficult circumstances and still not compromise the truth, right? If we do, right, it would just be a small sin, and people understand, what happened. They're not going to crucify us for lying, etc. But there is still a way, to say the truth and still save, the situation, right? Here it's a difficult fine line, but this is, just to show that it's always unnatural to lie. For example, if Jesus was in that position, right, he wouldn't lie, right? Or the Blessed Mother is, in that position, she wouldn't lie, but they would find something to say which would help the people, and they would turn the bad people away, right? Okay, so we always ask, what would Jesus do? What would a Blessed Mother do? I mean, could they even lie in order to save people's lives? It's kind of weird, right? So here, that in this case, lying is always going to be, it's intrinsically an evil action, right? It could be very small, right? Or it could be very large, okay? And then now we talk about the mortal sins of lying. In what cases lying will be a mortal sin? So usually lying will be a mortal sin when it destroys somebody, right? Their reputation is completely destroyed. You can see that's a mortal sin. A lot of people don't realize that, when they destroy somebody's reputation, they'll think that it's revenge and just, right? But actually it's serious, because now this person can't be trusted by all these other people, right? So that is a serious sin, right? Small lies would be white lies, jocose lies, joking lies, etc. Those are all just venial sins. But anytime that we really hurt somebody, or we withhold very, very important information from somebody who needs to know it, right? This is all, in the area of, thou shalt not bear false witness. And so the whole point is we really have to take care of our words, and we must make sure that all of our words always bespeak the truth. Not everybody deserves the truth, right? It's important to realize this. So, for example, what I mean by that is if the killer comes into your house and, the killer says, "Where's your mom?" right? And then, you don't have to say anything, right? You don't need to give the truth to this killer because he doesn't deserve the truth, right? He's trying to kill your mom, right? So what do you do in that situation, right? You don't have to say anything, right? Just run away. You don't have to say, "Oh, my mother's in that room over there." It just doesn't make sense, right? That would actually be a mortal sin, right? To tell the truth to somebody who it's not due to, right? So we have to remember that we have to use prudence, right? Give the truth to those to whom it's due. And then, of course, we don't have to say a lie, in a certain sense, but we can withhold truth to a person who it's not due to, and, we don't have to lie, right? So, for example, if that killer comes in, you can just say, "Oh, my mother went to Alaska," but she actually didn't go to Alaska. It's just like, by that point, you should just run away, right? I mean, you're talking to the killer, right? So there's no need to think like, okay, I need to lie in this circumstance, right? By that time, you just run away, right? So here, we should never compromise the truth, but we don't need to always give the truth, but always directed by prudence. Should we give it in this circumstance, or should we not, right? And withholding the truth is not lying, right? Lying is a direct offense against the truth. So here, withholding information when it's due is not lying. So here are the important things with regards to this commandment of thou shalt not bear false witness. And we see, of course, that the truth should lead us to God, and we have to find the truth together, and the beauty of the truth should always be sought together. Lying divides people, and it really just creates doubt And so here we should build a community up in truth and love.